Barcelona want Rashford, United and Liverpool to battle for defender, Traore to leave Wolves, a transfer roundup, plus this week's great debate, all coming up on today's OneFootball Daily News. As I'm your host, Angelina, let's get into it. First up, and Barcelona presidential candidate Jordi Faré has named Marcus Rashford as a player he admires. Now, he has said that Barcelona do need to strengthen up front, and then he named Marcus Rashford. I mean, he didn't 100% say we need to sign him, but if you're saying we need strikers, I really like Marcus Rashford, do you know what I mean? We all know what he's getting at. Now, Marcus Rashford has been linked with Barcelona in the past, and when he burst onto the scene for Manchester United as a teenager, everybody was completely in awe of him, and since, he's grown into a really competent player. Now, Faré initially did say that he was concerned about Barcelona's centre-backs, but with the youngsters that have been coming in, he seems to think that that area is pretty much covered. He did say that up front, Martin Braithwaite does need some support, and actually, he should be more like 5th or 6th down the pecking order. I mean, close your ears, Martin Braithwaite, bit harsh. And then he also went on to talk about some forwards that he really admires. Of course, he mentioned Neymar because most of the presidential candidates for Barcelona are either with Neymar or against him. This one is, of course, with him. He also mentioned Haaland. Now, Haaland to Barcelona wouldn't completely rule it out, but he does seem to be more likely going to Real Madrid in the future. Raúl de Thomas was also mentioned. Now, he plays for Espanyol, which are of course Barcelona's rivals, but we've seen it before in the past, rival clubs can lure players, so that one could potentially happen. And then of course he mentioned Rashford, but maybe it's the United bias in me, but I'm not too sure if I can see it happening. Don't get me wrong, I think that Rashford could play really, really well at Barcelona and it would be such an amazing move, but he is contracted at Old Trafford until 2023. They have the opportunity to extend for a year, but there's already been talk about Rashford maybe signing an even longer contract, and he has stated that he's pretty happy at the club. To be honest, Rashford at Barcelona would be an amazing move, but I think these presidential candidates are just grasping at straws and trying to say anything to get the votes. I mentioned on yesterday's Daily that one of the presidential candidates was actually saying that he'd pay for everybody's season tickets, and this guy has also stated, as well as the Rashford rumours, that he would get free pizza and tattoos for Barcelona members. Who knows what is going on? I'm really excited to see who ends up winning this presidential election and if they come through on some of these promises. Next up, and Manchester United have apparently got their eye on defender Ozan Kabak from Schalke. Now, of course, Liverpool have already been linked with the defender. As we all know, they are struggling defensively, and also RB Leipzig. Now, despite being so young, he is a really combative player. He's great on the ball, and his physical strength means that he'd probably fit in really well at the Premier League. Now, originally Schalke wanted £40 million for the player, but due to the COVID pandemic and some financial issues, they now reportedly will take £25 million. Absolute bargain. Now, Liverpool, they were looking to do a swap with striker Divock Origi. He's valued at around £20 million. I mean, a move to Liverpool I think would be really good, but my only concern, and it's the concern with every defender Liverpool is linked with, that when their actual first team defenders come back from injury, where's the player going to fit in? For United, of course, they are always linked with a centre-back as they look for a partner for Harry Maguire. But I think before United start buying more centre-backs, they need to get rid of a few, the likes of Marcos Rojo, Phil Jones, maybe even Eric Bailly, who's always injured. And obviously for Leipzig, there are rumours constantly about Diogo Upamecano and that he could be departing from the club. So no wonder they are looking for a new defender. It will be really interesting to see what happens with this transfer. I think my money's on Liverpool, to be honest, but I really hope that we do see him in the Premier League because, like I say, with that physical strength, I think he'd fit in really well. Our final story is about Adama Traore. Obviously, he is at Wolves, but apparently he's looking for a move, and the destination? It could be Leeds United. Now, of course, Wolves are normally in the mix, sometimes in the top 4, the top 6, the top 8, so people could argue that moving to Leeds would be a little bit of a step down. They're still a brilliant club, don't get me wrong, but they don't really have the same Premier League experience. But Traore wants game time, and Leeds are the club that could possibly give it to him. Now, a deal was almost struck with Traore and Wolves, but he decided to halt it because he wanted to explore his options. Now, in the Premier League, he has been arguably one of the greatest attackers, but this season his form has seriously dipped. However, Leeds are still interested. So, the NFL team, the San Francisco 49ers, they have a 10% stake in Leeds. They're looking to up this to 25%, meaning that Leeds could get a windfall of £50 million, and that means that they could definitely put in a bid for Traore. I think this will be a really good move for the player. My only concern is that are Wolves going to kick himself if he manages to resurrect his form? But If it's not working out at Wolves, he can't get enough game time, he's not scoring goals, a move to another club is probably the best for everybody. And next we have our transfer roundup. This is where I take a look at some of the other news and transfers going on in the footballing world. And first up, Liverpool could be recalling Karius as he has had a dismal loan at Union Berlin. Carlo Ancelotti has come out and said that Sir Alex Ferguson actually approached him to take over at Manchester United back in 2013. Over at Arsenal, players will allegedly face a 25% pay cut if the team get relegated. And finally, for the 12th time in 12 years, a Liga MX club have won the CONCACAF Champions League as Tigres came from behind to defeat LAFC 2-1. And finally, we have the great debate. The question today, who makes it into your Premier League team of 2020? So here's mine. I'm going to try and not be too United biased. So in goal, we have got Alisson. I don't think there's any arguments here. Ederson is great, but I just think Alisson is that little bit better than him. If we're looking at right back, as much as I'd love to put Aaron Wan-Bissaka in here, it's got to go to Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's completely ahead of his years with his ability, and he's definitely the player that you would want in that position. Looking at centre-backs, of course, it's got to go to Virgil van Dijk, although he's injured at the moment. He is arguably one of the world's greatest. Of course, he's going to get a spot in this team. Alongside him is Soyuncu. He has done fantastic at Leicester. He's managed to fill in the gap that Maguire left, and he's probably actually been a lot better than Maguire. So yeah, he definitely gets a spot. And finally, in the left-back position, could have gone with a Liverpool player, but I've gone with Ben Chilwell. Think he's been really, really great. Chelsea are really lucky to have him. And at just 23 years old, he's already so talented, and I'm really excited to see what he will bring in the years to come. In the midfield, I've gone for Ndidi. Think that he's a really integral part of that Leicester team. Kevin De Bruyne, don't even need to explain this one of the world's greatest. And of course, I've got to go with Bruno Fernandes, another vital cog in the machine for a Premier League team. The way that he has come onto the scene, he's joined the Premier League, and you think they've been playing in it for years. He's actually slotted in so well, and he is, again, so important for that Manchester United side. Up front on the right, I have gone with Mane. Now, I know people will be saying he plays on the left, He can also play on the right. And it's just because I know most people will be picking Salah. And I just think that Mane can play both sides. I think that he is a really, really good mix of somebody who's a fantastic individual player, but also a really good team player. And you always need that in your side. On the other side, I have gone with Son. I'm sure Matt will be happy about that one. He is absolutely on fire, a phenomenal player. And I think he's done really well in the transfer from Pochettino style to Mourinho style. Yeah, I've been really, really impressed with him, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else he brings in the season. And finally, could have gone with Kane, but I've gone with Jamie Vardy just for the fact that he is nearly 34 years of age and he's still setting the pitch alight. Absolutely fantastic. He's just one of those players that when he's got the ball in front of goal, you know that he's going to have such a good crack at it, and normally he does end up scoring. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys later.